Welcome to the Champs App podcast, where we help players and parents demystify the world of minor hockey development and recruiting for both girls and boys. On today's episode, I talk with Mike Sisti, who is the first and only head coach of the Mercyhurst women's ice hockey program. We talk about his long coaching career, why the program has had so much success over the past 23 years, and he provides lots of recruiting advice and insights for players and parents. This was a great episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Before we start the podcast, I wanted to let you know about the app in Champs App. Champs App lets you create a free, beautiful online hockey resume to share with coaches, teams, and players. Your profile includes all the information coaches want to know to help decide if you are a player they want to keep on their recruiting radar. What makes Champs App unique is that you can then connect directly with college, prep, or team coaches, and they can then follow your updates. So when you add a new highlight video or a game to your schedule, they will automatically get notified of these changes to your profile. It's a really easy way to keep all your connections up to date. Just go to www.champs.app and click the sign up button to start your profile. And check out the links in the show notes to see a list of some of the college coaches already using Champs App that you can connect with. Stay tuned after the episode for more details on how easy it is to create your Champs App hockey resume. I'm very excited to have on the podcast Mike Sisti, who is the longtime head coach with the Mercyhurst Lakers women's hockey program. Originally from Buffalo, New York, he played college hockey at Canisius College, where he was a prolific goal scorer and captained the team for 2 years. And in 2002, he was inducted into the Canisius Athletic Hall of Fame. After graduation, he continued with the men's team at Canisius, coaching for 3 years as an assistant before moving to the men's team at Mercyhurst for 6 years. In 1999, Mercyhurst started their women's hockey program, and Mike was the inaugural team's coach and is about to enter his 24th season as head coach. During that time, his teams have won 17 regular season CHA titles, 15 conference championships, 10 trips to the national tournament, and 4 Frozen Fours. Quite a lot of success. So welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me today.
It's awesome to have you here. It was great learning about Mercyhurst over the last few days as I prepared for this. It's unbelievable the success you've had, and you've been there since day one. So before we get into everything that you've been doing at Mercyhurst and have done for the last 24 years or so, why don't we just talk about your hockey history, how you started playing hockey in the Buffalo area, and what made you love the sport?
Okay, sounds great. Started playing actually when I was 3.5, 4. My older brother John played, and they just dragged me to the rink. So I got out there to skate, and my parents at the time, you'd get ice whenever you could. Usually practice was 4:30, 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And you had to endure some pretty cold mornings to get out there. But that's when I started, and I moved from there into the Buffalo Regals. And had some great coaching with some legends from Buffalo coming up through the Regals ranks, and really fell in love with the game, at a real early age. Played other sports, but with the hockey season as long as it is, and travel hockey, the commitment you have to have. Obviously, that was where most of my time was spent. And then
Mike, I'm curious, living in Buffalo, obviously you get a lot of snow, but you obviously have a lot of outdoor rinks. I was wondering, how often were you actually practicing or playing outdoors versus indoors in Buffalo?
I'd say maybe 15-20% of the time. A lot of them were indoors, but still pretty cold, but you had Casanova Park and a few others that, were outside, Brighton and Lincoln in the Tonawanda area, yeah, you learn to deal with the cold. And once checking hockey started, it was bad enough when you took a hit, but when it was 0 degrees, and there was usually no one cared at the time if it was below 0, if the game was canceled or not. So you certainly felt those checks a little more on the real cold days for sure.
Gotcha. And were you a Buffalo Sabres fan growing up? I don't know if you're too young for the French Connection, but
no,
there's a lot of good hockey.
I fell in love with those teams. Obviously, they're very successful. The Bills fan living in there. Diehard fans, and you live through the good days and some tough breaks we've seen both with the Sabres and the Bills. But it's fun. Certainly loyal to the area and those teams. Growing up, and loved the French Connection and those teams.
Awesome. Okay, so you were playing in Buffalo, playing AAA hockey. I think at some point you even played for the Buffalo Junior Sabres, according to your elite prospects profile.
Yeah, I went to St. Joe's, so I played as many games as I could on the varsity team there. But the Junior Sabres team, the years I played there, we played a split schedule. Half was against the Detroit CompuWare team and a few others at the U.S. Junior A level. The other half of our games were played in the Golden Horseshoe League in Southern Ontario. So we played about 80 games, and we're traveling quite a bit. And you know, for a junior and senior in high school, that was a pretty rugged schedule. But certainly learned a lot. Had some amazing, again, coaches and teammates. And, you know, that really helped get me to Canisius.
Gotcha. So yeah, talk about that decision to go to Canisius and you know, what your considerations were for playing at the school.
Well, you know, it was a unique opportunity to stay in town, get a great education, and be able to play at Canisius. And I kind of had the best of both worlds because I lived on campus, so you got to explore all the college life, you know, aspects, which I think are really important, you know, of the process, but also be home and know a lot of people in town. And, you know, if you needed groceries or something, those things weren't too far away. So it was really nice experience. And then obviously, you know, probably came into my own at the college level, you know, as far as the scoring and those types of things. Like I thought growing up, I was always an extremely hard worker. I would say real good player on a team, but maybe not the best player or the top scorer. And got a lot of responsibility with Brian Kavanaugh at Canisius and the coaches there, and really hit the ground running. Got off to a real good start, you know, my freshman year, and got a lot of responsibility and built on that, you know, as I went through the process there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you had 163 points in your 4 years there, scored 74 goals. But what was really impressive is in 1988-89, you scored 33 goals. And so maybe you could just tell me, what's the secret to scoring goals, since you scored so many while you were playing?
You got to shoot the puck for sure. And
I think let me write that down.
You can't, yeah, I'll tell you, I never thought it'd be so tough to encourage people to shoot the puck, but it's genius. If you take a lot of shots, something's bound to go in. And so I think clearly, you know, getting opportunities, you know, you got to be able to, again, get in those gritty areas, those high traffic areas, you know, if you want to score goals. So, and having confidence and belief in yourself, obviously, I think those are big. You know, it was a little unfortunate. I got mono just before my senior year, and I tried playing through it. And obviously that cost some production the last year coming off of that big junior year. But, you know, having great teammates that, you know, help you get opportunities, and, you know, being able to anticipate the game and anticipate where the puck is. But certainly, as crazy as it sounds, you know, you shoot the puck a lot, you got a better chance of scoring. So I think that's a good starting point for anybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. And so I understand that in that senior year, probably due to your mono, that Brian Kavanaugh asked you to actually become a player coach during your senior year. Is that correct?
Well, more so just planning ahead for the next year, you know, that like, hey, it would be, you know, it'd be good if you came back and, you know, joined the staff, and he kind of got me interested in coaching. And like anyone, you want to keep playing. But it was probably realistic. Even if I hooked on with a team, it probably wouldn't be too long or making too much money. So it was great advice to come back the next year and start coaching with him. And I was really amazed how much I took to it. You know, the job paid peanuts really, and it was a love of the game. And it's amazing if you got pride and you believe in something, how hard you're willing to work for it. And, you know, clearly I wanted the team to improve, and I wanted to make my mark, and put in some real long hours. But we paved the way for some unique things that weren't done there before, that, you know, started to happen and really helped, I think, the program take a nice step forward. And that really launched me into where I am today. I think he was very persistent, you know, in trying to persuade me to at least try it. And I'm glad he did, because obviously I fell in love with it. And, my dad was a truck driver, and I asked him, hey, why do you do what you do? And he says, I absolutely love it. And the good advice he gave me was, whatever you do, chasing the dollar is obviously, it's something to consider, but you got to love what you do, because you have good days and bad days. And on the bad days, you want to still be really happy with what you're doing. And that was great advice, because, again, I love coming to work. I got the same, if not more, energy and excitement to put out a great product and help our players achieve everything they're capable of achieving. So it's a great reward when you can see the growth that happens, in the course of the 4, or now at COVID, 5 years, that you can watch a young lady grow and develop and mature.
Awesome. So, okay, before we get into your detail of your coaching experience, a little kind of reflection back on your playing days. First is, what's your favorite youth or playing hockey memory that you have? Any time from 3.5 years old up until when you graduated from Canisius.
I think just the fun times in the hotels with the teammates and even the parents on some trips. And, I think it's like when you go to certain concerts or even football games. The concert or the game are fun, but sometimes it's the tailgating or getting together with people before the event that is exciting. And just dating back to all the great people that were involved in hockey through quality friends that I played with, but even players' parents and their families, getting to know my families. I think the hockey world is so special, and just so many wonderful people. But on a lot of those trips, I think that was an exciting side part of obviously playing the games, the different cities and places you could go to. And, just the fun times. You could be trapped in a hotel room for a half a day playing floor hockey, and what a blast it could be.
That's awesome. All right. And then looking back on all your playing days, who's your favorite coach and why?
I've been lucky. I had a lot. I would have to say Brian Kavanaugh, just because of how much responsibility he gave me as a player, and helped me obviously come into my own. I had great success at Canisius. So, I think he was a big part of that. And then obviously pushing me on the coaching end to help get me where I am today. So, again, there were a lot of great ones, at the youth ages doing, if it was helping you learn how to skate or whatever the case may be. But, as far as probably most influential, I think he created the biggest change, which, I'm certainly thankful for.
That's awesome. And so what was the hardest part in transitioning from becoming a player into a coach, other than the financial aspect of things?
Well, the biggest thing was the first year at Canisius, because now I'm coaching my peers, and I'm coaching, people that I've played with and, went to dinner with and hung out with. And, now I'm, trying to get them to get better. And, I think that was the biggest thing as a maturing process and a respect process, earning those players' respect to actually see me as a coach now and a friend, as opposed to just a friend, on the team. And I think that was probably the biggest early challenge. I didn't really have a problem with it, but it was something I was very mindful of, that I had to change gears and realize that I wasn't a player anymore, and I still had friends. And again, because I had that respect as a captain, it was probably a little easier. But, I had to embrace, the position I had and the role I had, I think that was probably the biggest challenge early.
Gotcha. Okay, so you spent 3 years there, and then you got a call from Rick Kotkin at Mercyhurst, just down the road in Erie. What made you switch schools?
I think it was the timing. And again, this is years ago, so that money wasn't much better, but it was better, and it was a nice opportunity, and it wasn't too far away. I had to get there quick. So what was interesting is, by time everything got decided and done, school started. So you certainly hit the ground running, but I'm glad he called. And obviously, I was able to take another big step in my maturation process in coaching with Rick. after a couple of years, I was fortunate. He elevated me to associate head coach, and he gave me tons of freedom to have a lot of say and do a lot of things. And, I got to the point where there was some possibilities of venturing out for some men's jobs before we started the women's team. But I think all those were available because he set me up by letting me do pretty much everything, and now I had that confidence. I had that experience, if it was dealing with budgets or recruiting or systems, video stuff, or, even road trip things. So it was nice to have those 6 years to really get a nice base under my feet to feel confident to make the next jump.
Gotcha. So now, before we get into the starting up the women's program, maybe just share with some folks the, Mercyhurst, the school, Mercyhurst University, formerly known as Mercyhurst College, in Erie, Pennsylvania. Roughly speaking, if I got this right, around 2,400 undergraduate students. So not a very big school. Just tell folks what it's like to go and live in Erie.
It's amazing. School-wise and with the graduates, depending on the year, you can push maybe closer to 4,000 people all on campus, but the campus is absolutely beautiful. And, I'm not saying that you could do the virtual tour. It is amazing. And what's nice with our campus, and I think a great mix, the city of Erie is about 100,000 people. So we're not like in the middle of nowhere, and you have the best of both worlds because everything the kids need is on campus in a nice, beautiful setting. But 3 miles away or 2 miles away even is Lake Erie and everything the waterfront has to offer. You have Presque Isle Peninsula, which is a huge tourist attraction with 9 beaches and 16 miles of bike paths and those types of things. So for families and friends that come to town, or even our players, within 1 to 4 miles of campus, there's tons of things to do, which is a nice bonus. And the campus too, with the classroom sizes, you might have 15 to 30 kids in a class. So it makes for an outstanding learning environment, much like our locker room. I just have to gaze around the room and I know someone's missing. The teachers are the same way. They get to know our kids personally. Even if you have deans of departments, they know every kid that's in their, department, and they work to help them if they want to get their master's done, or if they want to pursue a certain career. They have the time available in that one-on-one time that you just don't get at a lot of, bigger places. And I think that's a big benefit. And then obviously, even with our administration, if it's the president's office, the athletic director's office, everyone's available and wants to talk to the kids if they see them, or they have a need or a problem or a question. They're open for that engagement, which is a real nice, warm atmosphere for sure. And then the city has always embraced me in our program. Erie's a great sports town. What is kind of unique, we obviously have the Erie Otters in town. We have the Sea Wolves in town, which is minor league baseball, but we don't have, say, an NHL team or an NFL team. So we're really important to the fabric of Erie and the Erie fans, and they love following our team. Obviously, as you mentioned, we've had great success and tremendous student athletes go through here, but we've hosted 2 Frozen Fours because the love of women's hockey, not only at Mercyhurst, but in our community, and people come out to support us. I think they're really respectful of what our kids have accomplished in the classroom and certainly on the ice. So I think all those things make it really an amazing place. And we have so many majors available for the kids too. As you probably know, it's probably unusual for someone to come to school knowing exactly what they want to do and start to finish in that major. It's probably more common to not really know what you want to do or change your mind. And we can handle either one of those situations very comfortably here. We have amazing majors and teachers, but, we also have the school wants the kids to get a well-rounded education, no matter what their major is. So even if someone changes their mind, they can use those classes as like area studies toward another major, that they don't have to go an extra year or two just to get all the credits to graduate. So I could go all day. Obviously, I've been here. I've had chances to leave, but I'm so proud of what we've built. And I think we got a really unique mix where women's hockey is extremely important to Mercyhurst University, the Erie community, and our kids really could get a great education in a wonderful, safe, social environment, and certainly play an elite level of hockey. So I'm biased, but I think it's the best mix of all.
All right, so let's take it back just a little bit. So in 1998, the U.S. Women's Olympic team takes home the gold medal. And we've had several players who were on that team that come on the podcast, but that had a big impact on the folks at Mercyhurst deciding to start a program. So maybe you could take it from there.
Yeah, and I mean, really, that was it. There was probably us, and I don't know the exact number. I'd have to guess maybe 9 to 11 universities that at the same time were like, wow, this is amazing. You know, this wonderful sport. It captured the country, and, you know, a lot of interest. And our administrators at the time had, you know, the great insight to say, look, we have men's hockey here. Let's bring women's hockey here. And this could be something special and unique for us. And they did, and they approached me to be the head coach. And I wanted to make sure if I made the switch from men's hockey to women's hockey, I would never regret it. And I would be able to jump in with both feet and be really excited about it. So I did my due diligence. I asked a lot of questions, and, you know, even of our administration, I'm like, hey, if I do this, I want us to build a championship type of team, and I want everyone on board with what we're trying to accomplish here. And, you know, they gave me all the positive feedback that I needed to hear, and everything I learned about the sport had me fully confident that this was a great move for me and a great time to do it. And obviously I jumped in and haven't looked back since, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life.
So I'm very curious, what were some of the biggest differences between coaching men and then moving over to the women's side and coaching women?
I mean, at the time, I think what was rewarding, the women weren't getting as many opportunities for sure. And the players were so grateful to come in and, you know, have a full scholarship, or, you know, have their own locker room and have certain things. And not that the men weren't grateful at all. They were. But it was, I guess, and I think I was lucky with the group I brought in. Obviously, that first team we brought in, we did not even start recruiting until April.
Yikes.
And we had a team the next September. So that in itself was a pretty big accomplishment. But the ladies on that team were just so thankful and respectful that I think I got lucky in the sense they paved the way for our whole program. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, hockey's hockey, and you got to play a certain style if you expect to be successful. Obviously, the checking game of the men's was a little different. That was probably the biggest starting point on the ice, but, you know, just really good student athletes that were excited to be here. So they were easy to coach.
And you did pretty okay in your first year. 23-6, I believe, was the record.
We did. And I mean, in all honesty, some of that was scheduling for sure. You know, like we had to throw things together late because we didn't even officially, you know, have a team, you know, until midsummer really, where we're like, all right, we got enough kids to play this year. But we got it rolling. And again, those ladies were so prideful, you know, that even as we moved through our next 3 years, they paved the way, beating some juggernaut teams that have been around forever, you know, and we came in there and they really made a name for us with how hard they competed and pridefully.
And you also did pretty well in recruiting. I believe CJ Ireland was one of your star players, made a big difference early on. And then you later on, several years later, you got Megan Acosta, and Bailey Bram went to my wife's alma mater in high school up in Winnipeg. So, you know, you've got some really good talent there. How were you able to recruit them there? What's been the key?
Well, I think obviously being successful and having quality people, quality staff, quality players, the school sells itself once we get people on campus. There's been very few recruits that we've had on campus that haven't come here once they've seen all the great things Mercyhurst has to offer and the amazing mix. But just people having a real good experience and watching our product, watching how hard our team competes consistently. As you know, anyone can be good now and then, but we've had a longevity of success that's tough to compare against. And I think it's bringing in a staff that is prideful and hardworking and committed to probably grinding, maybe a little more than some other places to find kids and get out on the road, and then obviously having great people on your team that when kids do visit, they feel there's a nice culture and, hey, I want to be here. I want to be with these people. And then certainly our administrations, I've been here through a number of administrations, and all of them have been very supportive of women's hockey, me, my team, my program. And that's a big part of it. As you know, like you can't do things alone. And we've been fortunate that everyone's kind of pulled together to help make us, what we are today. But the hard work and treating people right, and obviously having a quality product, and the school, like I said, when kids and families get on campus, they're wonderfully impressed. Like they obviously come on campus because all the good things they hear, and then once they're here, they're like, wow, this place is amazing, and they want to sign up. So that's obviously been really important for us.
And in my research, the thing which impressed me most about the school was that your team is consistently number 5, roughly speaking, in attendance across all of women's college hockey, and number 2 in percent capacity filled. The only one ahead of you is Wisconsin, who basically sells out every game. So, is it the success on the ice that drives the fans coming to watch you, or is it just the love of the game and they'll support you no matter what?
I think it's a little of both, in all honesty, and obviously, like, Erie is a great sports town, so we get a lot of people on campus and students to come to the games, but we've had that bond and following in the city that people want to see us play, and fortunately, if a lot of years we have some key names on our team that people are like, wow, I gotta go see her play. She's really good. I think that certainly helps as well, and the competitiveness of people want to follow winners. We have a lot of big games. We have a lot of nice rivalries with teams we play. I think all those things tie into it, and just the product. And, so hopefully we could keep that going. People like to come see challenging games. They look at our schedule. We bring a lot of great schools to campus. And, when our team plays, I think a lot of people love the style we play. We compete, we play with tons of pride at a fast pace, and that's exciting for people to come watch.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so let's just talk a little bit about your coaching staff. You have 2 new assistants, I believe, this year. Maybe just talk about Trey and Tommaso, who helping out the team this year, and kind of what's new in store for this coming season.
Yeah, we're excited. We were able to add a volunteer coach, Michelle Robillard, who is one of our ex-players, and she's actually in med school, and between classes and everything wants to stay in the game and is helping out. And the other thing, Michelle, interested, I believe her senior year, she was on ESPN's top 10 for a nice dangly goal that she scored in a big game. So it's kind of her claim to fame. But she was a captain here, and I think she'll give great insight for the women. So we're excited to have her back. Tommaso Bucci played on our men's team, and it has been graduated for, I believe, 4 years. But he loves the game. He loves Mercyhurst, has a passion for it. And he's been really excited to get back here. And so it's good having him. And then Trey Flesh, he was at Maine for 4 years. And, he comes in here excited to hit the ground running. Obviously is a good coach in all areas, but certainly has a specialty with goaltending, so it's it's really exciting right now. Like anyone in the country is 0-0 and looking forward to a great year. But there's just awesome positive energy. So we can't wait to get started.
And so you talked about the start of the season. So the CHA has gotten way more competitive the last few years, especially with Penn State coming on board and throwing a ton of money at the program. I'm wondering what Mercyhurst is doing to kind of stay competitive and stay ahead of the pack, given that you might be competing against some schools with some bigger pockets.
Well, I mean, and that's been the way for us for a long time, and it's like we try to improve all the areas we can improve. And then, like we talked about with the grit, the work ethic, the pride, you overcome whatever you may not have, like even you got our rink in the background there with you. We love it. There's not a 10,000 seat arena there, but when there's 1,800 people in our rink, the place is rocking and it's a lot of fun. And it's an awesome, everything we need with the boards, the glass and the ice surface is grade A, so the things that our players need to be great, those are the areas we focus on and try to make sure they have, and just help them keep improving every day.
Gotcha. All right. So you've won 529 games as the coach of the women's team. So here's my question for you. Who is going to coach longer? You, Brian DeRoche at Boston University, or Mark Johnson from Wisconsin? Since you guys are all, have coached several hundred games and kind of the elder statesman in coaching.
Well, I mean, hopefully all those decisions are by choice, and we all three keep going for a long time. I don't know. I don't know this, but if I'm the youngest, I think I have the best chance, but anything can happen. Obviously, those are great guys and they have awesome programs. So hopefully all three of us are going for a long time. And like I said, if any of us step down, it's at the right time for us and by choice. And, hopefully there's some great games left to be coached by all of us.
That's awesome. Okay. So now, I think we've covered a lot about Mercyhurst. Let's get into the recruiting process. In your, 23 years of recruiting, how have things changed and where are they at today?
Well, they've changed a lot, obviously, in all different ways. And I think the biggest one now is we're back to the call dates, the June 15 date, and we've slowed things down, so to speak. So I think that's the newest, biggest thing that's going on. And I think there's definitely pros and cons with that approach. So that's probably the biggest change now, is having the coaches adjust back to like the people who've done it long enough, like myself. You see a lot of these rules change and come back and change and come back, or get tweaked over the years. So we had call dates and then we got rid of them and now we're bringing them back. So, you adjust to whatever the rules are and go from there. So I think though that's the big one, that for families, and they got to adjust how they do things, and us coaches as well.
Gotcha. So, we're talking in September 2022. Typically, in previous years in September, there have been over 100 commits already made for 2 years down the road. But for 2024s, there are basically been less than 20 public announcements. So where are things at today with kind of now with those changes and the June 15th deadline, with kind of what's different in terms of the process?
Well, I think from the family's end, depending on what end of the spectrum you're on, if you're a kid who's getting 30 schools after you, I got to think it's very tough and very stressful and very hectic. And they got a lot of homework they have to try to do to figure out where they're going to visit, narrow their list down, and go from there. So each family is going to have to handle that process, whatever they're most comfortable with. And then from the other side of things, the kids who are really excited to get all these calls and maybe are not getting many calls, the best advice I have for them is you're going to have to be aggressive with marketing yourself and maybe getting video to coaches and really push, as many of the coaches to see if no one's calling, because maybe someone missed it, or, whatever the case may be. So I think from the family's end, that's what they got to kind of look at. On our end, you get your list and you just try to work through it and see how the commitments and the visits fall, and keep chipping away at things. The only other thing too that shouldn't last, I think we only have it another 2 years, but the whole COVID fifth year transfer thing has thrown a whole new wrinkle in. That's probably the biggest other thing than the June 15th was the fifth year transfers coming on board, and some schools maybe banking money to take a fifth year kid as opposed to a new freshman, or putting off a freshman class. So that's a juggling act that you never expected to happen. That obviously is out there for at least another 2 years. And, that probably makes it even tougher for some of the young kids of recruiting age that, especially like goaltenders probably are feeling it the worst right now. If someone takes a freshman goalie, or they wait, and take a fifth year goalie, it's just kind of the new wave right now for the next few years.
Gotcha. So what are the attributes that you are looking for, in players, beyond just skill?
Well, I mean, certainly, you got to have high character. You want someone who's prideful, who will work hard, who loves to compete, because someone with that attitude is going to keep getting better. And they're also going to be able to overcome some obstacles if they have that work ethic, the pride level, to compete in them. So that's super important. You want someone who obviously is ambitious and wants to be, great, and is a good person. Someone who is going to enhance your campus, impress the teachers, impress people in the community with how they carry themselves. You're looking for future leaders, that not only could possibly lead your team, but are going to do great things down the road. So I think those are probably the key things. On top of the talent level, you got to be able to play, certainly at the game and at the level. But those are extra things that I think really separate the pretty good ones from the great ones.
And what is the key for a potential recruit, someone you've invited to come on campus? What's the key for them to figure out, yes, Mercyhurst is the place for me? What typically in the past, based on, folks who've been successful at Mercyhurst, what is it that during that recruiting process, what's the light bulb that goes on for them that says, yeah, this is the reason why I want to come here?
Well, I think certainly everyone's different, but I think the home aspect where, kids or their families could come on campus and they're like, one, there's just so many people here that care about you, that are going to take care of you, from the coaching staff to the athletic department to your teachers and people on campus. Like, I think they're really impressed with the one-on-one you can get in all aspects of the campus life. I think that's one, and then the other one is what a great place it is to help people thrive. That if you can be an elite athlete here, and even come in as an elite athlete and leave a better athlete than you came in, and you can, thrive in the classroom, and the sky's the limit on what you want to achieve. And there's people here who are going to help you achieve it. So, and then again, just in a safe, beautiful atmosphere, the campus is awesome. And, people get on and they look around, they're like, wow, this place can offer this many things that check all the boxes for us. And I think those are the things that, when people see it, they fall in love with it, and they're like, where do we sign?
And as I understand it, just the whole program is very open to, girls teams coming and visiting and checking out the program just at whatever age, 14, 15, 16, just so
Yeah, obviously you got to follow the rules, and anyone could visit campus at any time, but depending on the recruiting ages of, anyone that comes in, we obviously follow all those protocols. But, the teams that have come through, like sometimes a team from the East is going to play out West or vice versa, and they stop, they visit campus, they walk through, and then, they're impressed for sure. Some schools have booked games here through our arena manager, and, as a halfway point type of thing. So I think all those things, the people who've come through have been really impressed over the years.
Perfect. And so what advice do you have for players and parents who are going through the process now, given everything that you just said about here's some of the realities of what's going on between fifth years and COVID and, just the new rules that are affecting them?
Well, I think certainly before they commit, don't let anyone pressure you to doing anything you're not ready to do. Like make sure, if someone really wants you and they say, hey, you got to tell us today or else, then I don't know if you want that environment, so like I would make sure you're ready and that you're comfortable with the decision, because it is a real big decision. I would also recommend that they see as many schools as they can see even before the process starts, because at least the kids or families can get an idea of what's out there and what they may like or may not like. Obviously, as you know, there's all different types of campus. Some have upwards of 50,000 students, on campus, and some are much smaller than us, maybe 1,500 people. So I would have them on their own before the pressure starts mounting to get out, see some campuses, get a feel for what you like, or you may not like. I think certainly if they could get to know the coaching staffs, I think that's certainly important, and see if there's a nice mix of personality and priorities. I think that's a key. And then knowing where you're going to fit in, and where the coaching staff sees you. Like, again, some people are like, if you tell them we're bringing you in to be a third goal, you may never play. Some people, if they hear that, that's good. They want to sign up for that. Someone else would be like, well, no, unless I'm starting, I'm not going to be happy. I don't want to go there. So I think you got to get comfortable having those honest conversations of, why the school wants you, where they see you fitting in, and make sure you're good with that. As and you look at the best and worst case scenarios too at each place, that they have your major and you're comfortable there. If maybe you're, not on the top line, like you plan to be, can you still be happy at a place like that? So I think those would be some good starting points that'll help them be prepared. And now, if they are fortunate enough to be in a situation where a couple schools they really want them really bad, they may have more things on the table to compare things to.
Perfect. Okay, that's some excellent advice. And my kind of last question for you is, if there's a player who wants to get on your radar, what's the best way for them to get seen by you or get identified by you?
Well, I mean, certainly nowadays, the emails are so good because kids can send video and just express like, hey, I know about you guys. I really like you. I dream to go there. I think that certainly helps, because even when we recruit, we'll see tons of kids throughout the year and certainly take good notes. But it is nice to know when you're going to a tournament that, hey, these particular kids, we liked them last year. We thought they were pretty good, but it's nice to know that we're their first choice. And, you make sure you maybe take that extra look, and you really try to decide if that kid's right for you. Because obviously you want kids at your school that want to be there. So I would tell them, I would definitely encourage them, let any schools, it doesn't hurt just to throw your name out there and let them know you're interested. And if they aren't interested, so be it. But it certainly can't help your shot at getting to that school.
That's perfect. And I can confirm that the last 2 weekends in Stony Creek and in Pittsburgh, I have seen Trey and Tommaso out there with the Mercyhurst van,
Nice.
looking at kids and writing lots of notes on their iPads and their little papers there. So, Mike, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was great to learn about your background and really going into such great detail about Mercyhurst. There's a whole bunch of information that I had no idea about, and I definitely look forward to one day coming and visiting the campus and checking out a game.
Well, that's awesome. We'd love to have you. Again, I think you'd love it. I didn't even get into all the great restaurants in town and all the great golf courses and things you could do here. So definitely let me know if you're coming through, but I appreciate you having me on.
I really want to thank Mike for coming on the podcast. It was great to learn so much about the Lady Lakers program and his perspective on today's recruiting environment. You can find links in the show notes to learn more about the Mercyhurst program, or you can connect directly with Mike and his Champs app profile also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Before you go, I wanted to share more about the app in Champs app. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know I spend a lot of time talking with coaches, parents, and players about the hockey recruiting process. One of the key questions that people want to know is, how does a player get noticed by college coaches? While there are many ways to be discovered, the easiest way to get on a college's radar is to send a coach an email and provide them all the information they need to assess if you are a player worth keeping their eyes on. That's where the app part of Champs app comes in. Champs app was designed based on all the conversations and feedback we received about the recruiting process, and we've built a tool to help players and coaches connect with a ton of the information they want to know. It all starts with creating a free, beautiful Champs app profile. After that, there's some pretty magical things that can happen to help make the recruiting process a little less overwhelming. Your Champs app profile includes all the basic academic, personal, and athletic information coaches want to know. Then, by including video, schedule information, and your coach's contact details, colleges can easily start their evaluation process. You just copy and paste your personalized link and send it to coaches so they can see your public player profile without even having to log in or create a Champs app account. Or you can connect directly with coaches on Champs app. More and more coaches are creating their own Champs app profiles and connecting with players themselves every day. Now coaches can have all the information they need to assess where you might fit in their recruiting plans. Even better, college coaches can track your progress throughout the winter and showcase seasons, because as you make changes to your profile, coaches will get notified to your updates. And in the future, we will be adding even more amazing features to improve your visibility to the recruiting process and hopefully increase your odds of success. If you want to see what a player or coach profile looks like before you start your own, look in the show notes to see some examples. My kids and I have used Champs app for their recruiting process. In fact, my son was invited to a AAA tryout thanks to his Champs app profile. So go to www.champs.app and start your player or coach profile. It only takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete most of your key information. Good luck, and please let us know how it helped with your recruiting journey.